Hi friends, it's Firth here. Sorry, I don't know what the technical difficulty is with the Facebook Lives, but I figured I'd just record what I was gonna do. Same difference, and I can look and see if there's any comments. Make sure to tag me in the comments so I can get back to you if you have any questions. But, let's go ahead and get started. So first I'm going to color up this guy who is from the Arabian Nights stamp set that has all these fun characters. So I'm going to start by coloring him with some Copic markers. I'm going to start with his tail, if that's what you want to call it. I'm going to go for like an orangish red blend. Okay. And then I'm going to start with my darkest color of R37. Yeah. I'm just going to kind of go leaving little white space on the outside. Go around. Pulling that color through. Next, we're going to move on to R35. And then move on to R32. Then move on to YR02. Then blend that out with the YR00. And then I'm going to come back in with the R35. I'm just going to pull that color in a little bit more. So that the shading's not too linear. And then R32. Then YR02. And then YR00. Okay, I think that's kind of fun. What do you guys think? I'm so used to chatting while crafting with you guys. I'm already making those comments, so just ignore me. I know I'm not going to get an immediate response, but you can always leave a comment in the video, for the video below. Coming back through one more time, blending these colors out a little bit better. I think it's a nice, fun, mystical blend, but just want to smooth out the rough edges. So I don't know if you can tell, I'm kind of going for the red genie with this guy. So I'm going to go on to moving onto his skin, and I'm using that same kind of color blend, but I'm focusing more on the reds. So I'm going to put a base coat down of R30. So his body's going to be more of an actual red blend than a red-orange mix. I just wanted his tail to look kind of his mystical. So I'm put it base coat down all over his head and all of his torso and his arms. Make sure to leave the white spot in the center of his eyes. And if you can't, that's okay. You can go back through with a white gel pen. Okay, and I'm going to come in with this R37. Just going to put down some basic shadow lines. On his face, right underneath his hairline. Pull that down by his ears. And then the bottom of the ear. Okay, now moving on to R35. And I'm just extending those blended areas, or the shadow areas, sorry. Kind of defining his chest a little bit more. Okay, then I'm going to pull in R32. I'm going to go through with these colors one more time. I know he looks pretty pale. Oopsie, I went over that white space, and that's okay. We'll fix that. And then blend that out with R30. My R30 is kind of dry. I think it's scratchy, so that's a pretty good sign that it needs a refill. Okay, I'm going to start one more time with the R37. Just going to pull with a little bit more color towards the center of the face. Okay, moving on to R35. Just trying to spread that color towards the center of his face just a little bit more so he's not so pale. Then R32. I'm going to kind of blend out most of his body with the R32. Okay. And his ears. Okay. And then one more time on the face with the R30. That looks pretty good. I'm going to come in one more time with the R35. Just for my own sanity. Make sure those shadow areas are blended really well. I think the face is fine. Just going to add a little bit more color in the ears. Okay. Now I'm going to come in with the white gel pen, fix that eye before I forget. I'm going to do it to the other eye just so that they're identical. Get it? Identical eyes. I wish the technical difficulties were an April Fool's joke, but they were not. Okay. I messed up a little bit right there, so I came in with the colorless blender and kind of blended that out slightly. So the band, I'm going to go with kind of a darker red. So I'm going to actually start with R59. And then move on to R56. And then R35 because I'm running out of space. Yeah, I like that. Come in one more time with the R59. Okay. And I think I'm going to use the R59 or maybe just the R56 on his tail to add a little bit of kind of mystical shimmer to it. I think I do need to come in with that 59 so it's dark enough. Yeah, let's try the 59. Yeah. And white gel pen too. Give the tail a little bit more shimmer. Mystical look. Okay, yeah, I like that. All right, so now I'm going to move on to his hair. And I'm using my toner grays to give him a black color tone. So I'm going to start by putting down a base coat of T2. I'm going to do it on his top hair here. His little ponytail and his little goatee. And I'm going to come in with T10. Little dots on the edge of his goatee. And then right on there. Okay. And then I'm going to come through and I'm just going to pull some lines in his hair from the top and bottom. And then same thing with his ponytail. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to T8. T6. Trying to leave a little bit of highlight space in his hair. Okay, that looks good. I noticed I forgot the goatee. Add a little bit of shading in that. I think I can call that good. Come in with T4 just to blend it out a little bit more. I always come in, I think, with too many colors. And then I'm going to come back in with T8 one more time. just in his hair, and a little bit more contrast. Okay, so now we can move on to his gold hairband and his wristbands. I'm going to start with putting a base coat down of Y00. I want this to be like a real flashy gold, so start with a pretty bright yellow. And then I'm going to come in with YR24 and my shadow lines. Next, I'm using YR23. And then coming in with Y11. I'm going to come in with YR23 one more time. And then YR24. Okay, and I think he is finished. I think he turned out pretty neat. I'm going to touch up a couple spaces with my colorless blender where the color went outside of the lines. It happens to everybody, right? But I already die cut him. Ooh, I missed a spot with the gold on his little end of his ponytail here. So I'm going to quickly go through those colors one more time. YR24, YR23, and then Y11. Okay. All right. So now I just put some temporary adhesive on the back of him so I can peel them off the scrap paper and set him aside, because next we're going to work on the card background. And I'm going to use a little media mat here to hold my cardstock down. Kind of going for, and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, going for like a summer sunset sky. So I'm going to start with an orange. One second while I get sticky pad out to hold down my ink pads. And I will clear up my markers too, so I have a little bit more working space. Okay, so now I'm going to come in with Spice Marmalade, Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just going to go around the outer border here. I love the contrast between these two. Okay, now I'm just going to touch the edges next with, I think, some festive berries. Bring a little bit of that red through. Okay, and thinking about pulling in some purple. We'll see how this looks. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like this or not. Oh yeah, that's fun. Just on the very, very edge, I'm gonna hit it with the purple. Turn it just a little bit. I love how that looks. bring it a little bit more on the top. Okay, so that's going to be our background. I might hit it with the red one more time. And then I'll have to come back in with this purple, blend that out. Okay. I think that looks good. Think that looks pretty good. I might come in with the red and do a little bit of splatter to the background, or black. Let's go with black. Might be a little dark, but I think it'll be okay. Just a little bit, nothing crazy. So I'm just using Distress ink, and I'm gonna smush it onto my media mat. I'm gonna spray it with some water, and then I'm gonna pick up that ink with just a regular old paintbrush. Then I'm just gonna dab it. All right. I think that'll look pretty good. And I can clean off my brush real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna set this aside to dry, and then we're gonna go ahead and play with the stencil next, the Arabian Nights stencil. I'm gonna try to create pieces that I'm gonna build in front of the ink blend that we just did. So first I'm gonna start with this bottom part of this little village, and then I'll put the castle in the front. So the stencil requires a little bit of masking, but it's nothing too crazy. So I'm going to get out my masking tape real quick. There it is. And I just use Post-it note tape to mask with. I want it up kind of high, but not too high. Okay, that will do. Tape off all the other areas. Make sure I don't cover any of the parts of this. And if we get anything above this little village area, it's not going to be a real issue because we're going to be fussy cutting this part. Okay. So I'm just going to come and pull the color down like this so that the stencil doesn't pop up on me. And I'm going to come in with some fossilized amber. Like I said, I'm just going to pull this color on down. I don't have any pixie spray right now, or else I would have used pixie spray to make sure it's stuck to my ink blending cardstock. I need to restock on some pixie spray. And you want to make sure to get enough ink, the top edges here, so that we have a good idea of where to fussy cut. Now we're just going to pull that color on down towards the bottom. Okay, I think that's good. Okay. So now we're going to lift. See how we have a nice border there? That's great. So now I'm going to take my tape, I'm going to peel it off, and then I'm going to stick this castle. I kind of want it to not cover too much, but put it maybe right there. So we can go ahead and throw our tape down again. And this time it's pretty important that we cover these edges, because this part we are not cutting off. I have this sticky mat that's kind of in the way. I think I taped too much, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. I'm going to get this sticky mat out of the way. It's a brand new mat, so it's really sticky. Sorry about that. We'll deal with that later. So now I'm going to come in with Wild Honey Distress ink. And we're going to do the same technique where I'm just going to pull the color down. And hopefully it's dark enough, it's going to color up any ink blending that we did behind, so that it's kind of in, you know, in the background of this castle. And I'm not trying to go all the way down to that bottom edge because I don't want a harsh line at the bottom. So I'm pulling the color down, but not all the way to the bottom. Ooh, and I noticed my cardstock was sliding. So I'm going to take a second, reline that back up. Even though that looks pretty good, I just want to get a little bit more coverage on that. So let's try this again, shall we? Press this down a little bit better. Okay. Whew, that could have been a catastrophe. Okay, so now I'm going to pull a little bit more color into this. And I want to come in with a second shade, make the top a little bit darker. Okay, I'm going to come in with some rusty hinge, make the top a little bit darker than the bottom. Kind of giving the castle itself an ombre effect. Palace, castle, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I think that's going to be good. So I'm going to lift that up now. Yeah, I like that. So one last thing is I'm going to use this kind of rough bottom edge to put a floor down. So I'm going to wipe off this excess ink so it doesn't go all over our ink blended background real quick. Okay. Now I'm going to come in, I'm going to tape this down right about there. Come back in with my tape, try and reuse a little bit of it. I think I'm going to try and go with a red floor. I just want to see how that looks first. Okay. That's probably good. Okay. So I'm going to come back in with this Festive Berries. Just want to see how this looks. go over it with the purple just to make it a little bit deeper. I want to see what it looks like first. Oh yeah, I like that. Ooh, move this there. Yeah, and then I think I'm gonna come up. Should have done the purple first. Well, I can come back, go back over it with festive berries. So I'm gonna come in with this purple. It's gonna go right over top of that layer that we already created, and that's okay, because we'll come back one more time. All right, now let's move that down a little bit. Okay, and then we'll come back in with our festive berries. We're almost finished this part, I promise. Now it'll be really, real vibrant red, and I'll love that. Okay, let's see how this looks. Yes, okay. We're gonna think we might let that dry for a second while I clean this up. Because next we're just gonna fussy cut. So let me clean up my workspace a little bit here. Get rid of all this excess tape we don't need anymore. Okay, clean up my workspace so we don't pick up any of that extra ink. Okay, now I'm just gonna come in with my tiny scissors and avoid that pink at the bottom because it's still dry. First I'm gonna do like kind of a rough cut. Nothing fancy here. Just might take me a minute. Okay. Make sure I'm not picking up any of that extra color. Then I'm going to come in, get some of these smaller areas. Keep rotating. It's easier to rotate the paper than it is to rotate your scissors. Play smarter, not harder, right? I'm trying to avoid touching that bottom area because I know if I pick up any of that ink with my fingers, it's gonna get on the rest of my background, and I don't want that. Almost there. I can see the finish line. Maybe I should have had one of these pre-cut. Oh well. Okay. All right. So there it is. I think that still looks pretty good. Next, I'm gonna take this to my paper trimmer because our card base is only a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. But look how cool that looks. Doesn't that look pretty neat? So I'm gonna go ahead and trim off these sides. Actually, I might do that with scissors. I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm gonna glue that down and then do that with the scissors. Now, the reason why I did that is 2 separate pieces versus just ink blending on top of that background is because I wanted to sneak the genie in right behind the palace, like he's poking out of the palace here. And then I already colored up this bad guy, also using Copic markers. I used BV20s for the black because I wanted to have more of a purple shade. I used the same reds and same golds as before. And then for the skin tone, I believe I used E35, E33, and then E11, E21, E00, and E000. And then I'm going to put him kind of down here. I think, make sure. I don't want to cover up too much of the castle, so maybe I will off-center that a little bit. Have him standing to the side here, and then have the genie coming up right there or right in there. Yeah. And then I can put a little sentiment strip right here. Just trying to decide whether or not I want to matte this with a black. I think I like it the way it is, so I'm going to keep it. Clearing off my space a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this landscape onto our card front. And I'm just putting the glue kind of on the sides and at the bottom so that I can tuck the genie in after I'm done gluing. Let's put it like about there. Make sure it's lined up with the bottom of our card base here. Okay, now we can flip it over and trim the excess landscape off of the edges. Okay, so that's how that looks, which I think is pretty neat. Yes. Okay, so I think I'm gonna glue the genie on next. And then I think I'm gonna use some foam adhesive to glue him on, or attach him Bear with me as I put these squares on the back. Okay, I think that should be enough. Yeah, that's plenty. Put him right here, right on the edge. Okay, now I just need to finish the card by adding a sentiment strip. I think I'm gonna do a black sentiment strip, the top here. So I'm gonna go ahead, get out some black cardstock. Sorry, my husband decided to print something. The printer's in my office, so yeah, that'll work. It's a little messy, but that's okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick out a sentiment. I think I'm gonna go with Oh Mighty Evil One, or I love the way your foul little mind works. Let's go with the Oh Mighty Evil One. So first I'm going to die cut out a sentiment strip actually. So I'll be right back. I'm going to do that really quickly. Actually, I'm just going to cut it after I heat emboss it. I'm not going to worry about that because I'm just going to do a little strip. So I'm going to line up my sentiment on my mat, try and make it, keep it straight. And then I'm going to use embossing pad, wipe it off with an embossing buddy. Okay. Pick up some embossing ink. And that bottom edge is pretty straight, so I might go just right there. One less edge to cut. So I'm gonna use my handy dandy coffee filter to catch the excess embossing powder. Okay. And now I'm gonna heat emboss, and it's kind of loud, so just forewarned. Okay, so that's how that had turned out, and now I'm just going to go over to my paper trimmer and trim that real quick. Actually, pull this one down. I love this one for tiny sentiment because I can get really small strips out of it. Okay. I think I'm gonna trim that down a little bit more. Bear with me on this. kind of crooked. So let's go ahead and alright. Let me fix this top edge. Trim it off a little bit. Okay, that looks better. Still a little bump in the center, sorry. Probably should have just used a sentiment strip. Oh well. So I think I'm gonna put that right about there. How's that look? That's pretty good, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use some foam tape. So I'm just gonna use some black foam tape here and attach that to the card. I don't have to run it all the way because I'm trimming off the end a little bit. Okay, let's say right about there. Yes. Okay. So now flip it over, trim off the back. Perfect. Okay. Now we're back to rocking and rolling. Now we're almost done. All we have to do is attach this to the card base. Oh, sorry, my paper trimmer tried to fall and kill me. Oh, it's always something. Always something. Just need to trim up a card base real quick. Okay. Just fold this in half real quick. I'm going to use my scoring tool. Nice clean score line. Okay. Now we're just going to take this and glue it onto our card base. And there it is. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this spontaneous craft video since the Facebook Live didn't work out. I hope we'll figure that out for next month. If not, I'll at least provide a video just like this. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment below and I'll try and get back to you. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you tune in next time. Bye.